It's time for NCW Life News on the NCW Life channel. The latest from the Wenatchee Valley and North Central Washington with Steve Hare, Grant Olson, and sports with Eric Granstrom.
Good evening and welcome to NCW Life News. I'm Grant Olson. Here are a few of the stories we're following for you tonight. An update on the cougar roaming East Wenatchee. County commissioners impose road restrictions. The Chelan County Sheriff's Office offers residence checks, and the Wenatchee City Council considers a request for funding for the Miss V-Doll replica. Later on, we'll have sports, your weather forecast, and our feature story today. But we first begin tonight with the cougar. It's been roaming the East Wenatchee area this week, is creating unease in several east side neighborhoods. It's once again resurfaced and is now moving back into city limits. State Fish and Wildlife Department officers have been monitoring the animal and tracking its movements since the first sightings were called in Tuesday afternoon. Agency spokesman Sergeant Dan Klump advises residents of the area that cougars are prowling for food and often wander into populated areas seeking food, water, and shade.
The big one for us is people that intentionally feed deer and keep those deer in and around their property. We understand deer are fun to look at and all that, but I would let nature do nature's thing of not being, attracted unnecessarily to certain areas. Because if you have a high concentration of deer, for example, in certain areas, an animal such as a cougar will see that and take advantage of that because it's easy for them to hunt, as that's one of their primary things in their diet.
Klump says cougar sightings can be reported to the State Department of Fish and Wildlife through their Wenatchee office or through Rivercom Dispatch at 663-9911. Earlier this week, Chelan County Commissioners imposed restrictions on county roads to reduce the threat of wildfires that may be caused by recreational, residential, commercial, and other activities. Signs are posted throughout the county with the restrictions. Officials strongly advise motorists to refrain from off-road activities because sparks from vehicle exhaust can spark a brush fire in these extremely dry conditions. Well, the Wenatchee City Council is considering a request for funding from the group that built the replica of the Miss V-Doll aircraft. Jake Lodato with the Spirit of Wenatchee Group says the plane is in need of a new engine cylinder.
We're here to ask for some help in the realm of $5,000. If we could count on something like that, then along with the East Wenatchee portion, that would kind of cut the nut. And then our efforts with our t-shirts and the sweatshirt sales and occasionally a donation from people asking to come and look at the airplane, that could go toward the next cylinder, and maybe eventually I won't be here, but in 15 years they're going to have to buy a new engine for it, and that is $50,000 now. By then, probably closer to $100,000.
Miss V-Doll put Wenatchee on the map when it completed the first non-stop trans-Pacific flight between Misawa, Japan, and Fancher Field in East Wenatchee. Lodatos' funding request was among several received by the council at Thursday's meeting. The requests have been turned over to the council's Finance Committee for consideration. Coming up, the Chelan PUD offers hard hat tours of Rocky Reach Dam. A new charging station for electric cars has been installed, and the Pateros Jamboree takes place this weekend. I'm Grant Olson, and you're watching NCW Life News.
Stay up to date with what's happening in North Central Washington. Go to the NCW Life community calendar at ncwlife.com.
For the next 2 Saturdays, area residents will have the opportunity to take a 90-minute tour of Rocky Reach Dam. The Hard Hat Tour will take participants through the entire hydroelectric process, demonstrating how 11 million gallons of Columbia River water falls 93 feet per minute into turbine blades that rotate a shaft, releasing electrons that travel across power lines to provide power to our homes and businesses. The entire process happens in a matter of seconds, more than 186,000 miles per second. The free tours will be offered in the mornings and in the afternoons, and participants must call in advance to reserve a spot. For reservations, call Rocky Reach Dam at 663-7522. Nissan Leaf, Chevy Volt, Tesla, Volkswagen e-Golf, Ford Fusion, and soon Volvo will be adding electric engine options starting in 2019. And the final installation of electric charging stations with the Chelan County PUD was completed this week. There are stations throughout the greater Wenatchee area, including 2 at the PUD headquarters, 2 at Town Nissan, Walla Walla Point Park, the Confluence Technology Center, and the Rocky Reach Visitors Center. Charging up at these stations is free and are available to the public. For more information, visit www.plugshare.com. Well, for the past 69 years, the residents of Pateros have hosted the annual Apple Pie Jamboree, a 3-day event that kicked off today. The Jamboree helps raise money for local students, clubs, and community groups. Jamboree organizers say this year's 70th anniversary will feature more events than ever, including jet ski races on the Columbia, the Ray Stanley Memorial Bass Fishing Tournament, a downtown parade, and a quilt show. The Jamboree will also include lots of kids' games along with interesting and unique vendors. Money raised at the Jamboree will also go in part to pay for the design and construction of a new Pateros sign. The new sign will replace the old one that was destroyed during the Methow Valley fires a couple of years ago.
It's been a very slow process. As you know, in 2014 was when we lost the old sign, and it had been there since the 70s. And so there's been a lot of pressure and a lot of talk about putting the sign back. So we, a small group of people, have band together, and we have been steadily working towards getting a new sign put out there. Originally, the sign was on private property, and there were no permits or anything when the sign was built. And so apparently we found out that it was an illegal sign all these years, but nobody forced the issue to have it removed. And so when we got ready to put the sign back up, we got a little bit of pushback saying, you know, it was illegal, you can't put it there. Okay. And luckily we had some very tenacious people on our group that know the law, and we also know some of the people from the DOT, and they were very pleasant. We worked with them, and we managed to overcome all the hurdles, and so it will be a legal sign when we put it back. It's going to be smaller. The original sign was probably 30 or 36 foot across, and this one can't be more than 20 foot. Okay. We're hoping to have it done by Jamboree this year, which would be the 3rd week in July. We just found out this week, like I said, that it could cost maybe as much as $20,000, somewhere in there. We're not exactly sure yet on the final figures.
Jamboree organizers hope enough money will be raised at this year's event to have the new sign completed and erected later this year. You're watching NCW Life News. Coming up next, Eric Granstrom has your sports update, followed by our feature story today. That and much more still to come on NCW Life News. Stay with us.
Get the fastest internet available in North Central Washington by switching to LocalTel and get speeds up to 1,000 meg. Call 888-8888 today or go online to localtel.net.
And now it's a sports update on the NCW Life channel.
And a happy finally Friday. A wild 9th inning led to a 4-3 loss in the 10th last night for the Wenatchee Apple Sox as Cowlitz completed a 3-game sweep at Paul Thomas Senior Stadium. Wenatchee led 2-0 heading into the top of the 9th with closer Connor Leadholm on the mound. A bases-loaded single by pinch hitter Kona Quiggle shaved the lead to 1. The Bears' Mark Pearson then delivered a 2-run triple to give Cowlitz a 3-2 lead. And the bottom of the 9th, Jordan Prendiz got aboard with 1 out single, followed by Dugan Shire's double, putting runners at second and third. Michael Spalessi's sacrifice fly scored Prentice to tie the game at 3, sent it into extras. Cowlitz got 2 aboard off Wenatchee reliever Hugh Smith before Andy Armstrong delivered the go-ahead run on a ground out. That made it 4-3 Bears. Jimmy Faust worked a perfect 10th, including 2 strikeouts to give the game to Cowlitz and a 3-game sweep. Hitting in the 9th spot in the lineup, Prentice had a great night, going 3 for 3, scoring all 3 of the Apple Sox runs, including a solo shot to right in the 4th.
It is pitched to Jordan Prendiz, hit high in the air, deep to right field. A ride! Goodbye baseball for Jordan Prendiz to straightaway right field. Apple Sox will make it a 2-0 lead on a solo shot for Prendez. His first home run of the 2017 Apple Sox season.
Trevor Williams on the Apple Sox Radio Network. Connor McCord pitched well despite a no decision, going 7 innings, allowing no runs, 3 hits, and 3 strikeouts. Wenatchee now 3-3 on the second half, travels to Kelowna to begin a 3-game series with the Falcons tonight at 6:35. Also in WCL play last night, it was Yakima Valley doubling up on Victoria 6-3. Tora Otsuka went 4 for 4 with a couple of RBIs as the Pippins salvaged the final game of that series. Port Angeles edged Walla Walla 6-4. Sean Roby had 2 solo hits, including a solo home run, and 2 RBIs to lead the lefties in the win. And the standings, Victoria on top now at 6-4. Wenatchee a game back at 3-3. Bellingham, Port Angeles, Walla Walla, and Kelowna round out the North Division of the standings. Well, Kyle Crustangel is in his first year as head coach of the Wenatchee Apple Sox. One of the things he's really loved about his job is being able to give back through the youth summer camps.
I love, working with kids and teaching the game on, a much basic level compared to, these college guys. But no, it's great. Good opportunity to give back. And I used to love being a camper myself. And when I was at Whitworth University as a coach, we did a lot of camps. So I enjoy giving back to the community and having these kids out there learning the game. For me, the big passion is making these kids fall in love with the game. It seems like they have so many options of sports nowadays. So I love getting these kids fired up about baseball.
The Apple Sox are a couple of games over 500 on the season and battling for first place in the North Division's second half. He says he purposefully went with age and experience for a shot at success this year.
Definitely chose to go older this year. I think there's only 3 full-time incoming freshmen to college guys, but they're the right ones. I think that, you talk to those coaches, the things that they tell us are, hey, this guy's, he's going to be possible first-year starter for us. And those are the guys that you want on your team, the guys that were their biggest recruits. If they're just walking on to a big program, I think that says maybe what they think in them. But if they're putting a lot of money in the kid's name to be the guy, she's going to come out and be really well for us. And I think, to that stand, actually all 3 stand out. Cottrell's thrown phenomenal for us since he's been here. Josh Zamora, who's going to Nevada, and Michael Spellacy going to GU. They've been a huge impact from the time they got here to Wenatchee, so we feel blessed that we got the right ones in. But again, I like the well-roundedness. I think the teams that have struggled in years past have had 15, 16 incoming freshmen, and they just haven't had the college at-bats. Not all of them are going to pan out. But when you have a team that's very experienced and you sprinkle in a few of those guys, I think that's when you got a good recipe. And I think we were fortunate enough this year to kind of get that recipe.
Wenatchee took the 5+ hour bus ride to Kelowna early this morning. So what happens on those bus rides? Crustangel says not nearly enough sleep.
I think Jacob Prater, one of the local guys from Wenatchee, he brought a hammock on the bus. So he strings it up and he gets some good shut-eye while he's laying in the middle of the aisle on his hammock. But, I said guys are jamming out to music. There's seems like the rap battle takes place at some point on the bus. We always play a little game to guess what time we get home at. So guys are checking the clock, but it's a blast. I think the road trips are, what guys remember. You don't remember the wins and the losses, 10 years from now. You remember the road trips and the guys. So I think, if the guys be that close and that tight-knit is something that the coaching staff's very happy about.
Kyle is married to Katie, formerly Esty, who's from Wenatchee. You can find Katie working the souvenir booths during home games, and she also works out of the Chelan County Fair office. Well, Jerry's Auto Supply presents Thunder in the Valley this weekend at Wenatchee Valley's Super Oval. It is a huge weekend, 3 days of the fastest racing you'll see on the quarter-mile track in East Wenatchee, beginning tonight with practice at 6 o'clock. Then tomorrow and Sunday, it's the Wing Sprint Cars, WILROC, ISRL non-wing sprint cars, Royal Purple Modified Tour, and the Can-Am Early Stock Old Timers Challenge. Practice starts at 2 o'clock Saturday, followed by qualifying at 5:15. Opening ceremonies at 6:25. Trophy Dash at 6:30. The heat race at 7. Main event at 8. Then on Sunday, they do it all again with practice at 1, qualifying at 2:30. Opening ceremonies at 3:25. The Trophy Dashes at 3:30. Heat races at 4. And the main event at 5 o'clock. 2-day pass for adults, just $22. This is one of the biggest events of the year at WVSO, so don't miss out. It's a busy weekend. We've got the Wenatchee Salmon Derby, 6th annual NCAA WCCA Pete Floor Memorial Salmon Derby. That's today and tomorrow on the Columbia River from Rock Island Dam to the base of Wells Dam. Cash prizes being given out to the heaviest fish and for the heaviest boat weight. Go to Hooked on Toys for more information. Summer Scorcher Fast Pitch Tournament. The Greater Wenatchee Girls Softball Association hosting this one. That's at the Sterling Sports Complex in East Wenatchee today. Runs through Sunday. Senior Softball End of Year Tournament happening at Walla Walla Point Park for the Men's Senior League here locally. Also at Hydro Park this weekend, it's the Hot Dams Women's Softball Tournament for USSSA teams. That's at Kirby Billingsley Hydro Park Saturday and Sunday. Also, 16 high school football teams from throughout the state will converge on the Wenatchee Valley by the end of the weekend to begin the annual Wenatchee Panthers football camp. There'll be 11-on-11 scrimmages, as well as 7-on-7 scrimmages throughout the camp at Wenatchee High School in Triangle Park. That runs Sunday through next Thursday. Seattle Mariners start the second half of the season following the All-Star break today with the first of 3 games in Chicago against the White Sox. It's James Paxton on the mound for Seattle going up against James Shields. With sports, I'm Eric Grandstrom on the NCW Life Channel. Grant, back to you.
Washington State's thriving agricultural industry is profiled in a recent video produced by the Washington State Department of Agriculture. Our feature for Friday also showcases many familiar images from right here in our region. We'll be back in just a moment with a recap of today's stories and your weather forecast for North Central Washington.
Stay up to date with what's happening in North Central Washington. Go to the NCW Life community calendar at ncwlife.com.
Welcome back, and now for a recap of our top stories. The cougar that's been roaming the East Wenatchee area this week, creating unease in several east side neighborhoods, has once again resurfaced and is now moving back into city limits. State Fish and Wildlife Department officers have been monitoring the animal and tracking its movements since the first sightings were called in Tuesday afternoon. Agency spokesman Sergeant Dan Klump advises residents of the area that cougars are prowling for food and often wander into populated areas seeking food, also water and shade.
The big one for us is people that intentionally feed deer and keep those deer in and around their property. We understand deer are fun to look at and all that, but I would let nature do nature's thing of not being, attracted unnecessarily to certain areas, because if you have a high concentration of deer, for example, in certain areas, an animal such as a cougar will see that and take advantage of that because it's easy for them to hunt, as that's one of their primary things in their diet.
Klump says cougar sightings can be reported to the State Department of Fish and Wildlife through their Wenatchee office or through Rivercom dispatch, and that phone number is 663-9911. Earlier this week, Chelan County Commissioners imposed restrictions on county roads to reduce the threat of wildfires that may be caused by recreational, residential, commercial, and other activities. Signs are posted throughout the county with the restrictions. Officials strongly advise motorists to refrain from off-road activities because sparks from vehicle exhaust can spark a brush fire in these extremely dry conditions. The Wenatchee City Council is considering a request for funding from the group that built the replica of the Miss Vidal aircraft. Jake Lodato with the Spirit of Wenatchee Group says the plane is in need of a new engine cylinder.
We're here to ask for some help in the realm of $5,000. If we could count on something like that, then along with the East Wenatchee portion, that would kind of cut the nut. And then our efforts with our t-shirts and the sweatshirt sales and occasionally a donation from people asking to come and look at the airplane, that could go toward the next cylinder, and maybe eventually I won't be here, but in 15 years they're going to have to buy a new engine for it, and that is $50,000 now. By then, probably closer to 100.
Miss Vidal put Wenatchee on the map when it completed the first non-stop trans-Pacific flight between Misawa, Japan and Fancher Field in East Wenatchee. Lodatos' funding request was among several received by the council at Thursday's meeting. The requests have been turned over to the council's finance committee for consideration. And now for your weather forecast for north central Washington. Before we get to that, let's take a beautiful look at what we're seeing out there today, and that's beautiful blue skies and hot temperatures. Keep in mind our normal is 87 for this time of year, so we are well above that today, and we'll probably continue to be so, especially as we get into next week. We can expect warm conditions with mostly clear skies tonight, and that will last into Saturday. We will see a slight chance for thunderstorm as it comes to mainly northern and eastern Washington and north Idaho over the next 24 hours. As you see on our satellite picture, clear skies all the way from Washington down to Southern California. And then there's that little area of low pressure just off to our west coming down from Alaska that could skirt our state, as we mentioned, with some clouds and maybe some thunderstorms as we get into Saturday night. There will be high fire danger as well as we get into at least the end of the weekend, and we'll keep our eye on that for you. Let's take a look at that forecast now, and we will see just beautiful temperatures throughout the rest of this weekend and into early next week. Temperatures will cool somewhat, as you can see on Sunday. Sunshine and 83. Expect windy conditions as well as we get to the end of the weekend on Sunday. On Monday, as we kick off our next work week, sunshine, 87, and we will continue with that trend right through next week. Boy, does it look dry out there. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, lower to mid-90s with lows in the mid to upper 60s. And as we close our show today, it's time for our video of the day.
And that might be the same people as down here, but they're doing two different roles. And then they interact with you got it? They interact with the program team. Even though these could be the same people, they're serving different roles. You get that yet? No? Because, okay, one more time. Up here, I'm having my weekly leadership meeting, and we're working as a team on everything that's happening in the location. Down here is when I go and I meet with my individual teams and the people that roll up to me. And the activities I'm doing there is to drive change at that operational level. Now these people over here, right? Yep, I get it. Yes, you finally got it. Awesome. Give me a hug. You finally got it. Good boy.
And a big thanks to Blair from Works Gym in Wenatchee and East Wenatchee for that very cute video. And that's going to do it for our newscast tonight. For more on these stories and other news from around north central Washington, you can find us on Facebook or our website at ncwlife.com. And remember, if you see news happening or have a video you'd like us to use, we'd like to hear from you. You can send us an email at news@ncwlife.com or just give us a call at 888-NCWL. Once again, that's 888-6295. I'm Grant Olson. Thanks for joining us and have a great weekend.
This has been NCW Life News on the NCW Life channel. For more news, log on to ncwlife.com, like us on Facebook, and follow NCW Life channel on Twitter.
Get the fastest internet available in north central Washington by switching to LocalTel and get speeds up to 1,000 meg. Call 888-8888 today or go online to localtel.net.